tutorial on how to draw arrows in mechanisms. So this is the worksheet that I just gave you guys, and I have the whole sheet in view here. In ChemDraw, if you press Command greater than or Command period on a Mac, and there's probably a similar keystroke on a PC, you could increase the size of what you're looking at, and then you can scroll to where you'd be on the page. So this helps us do things a little more precisely. So I'm going to draw the arrows on what I've given you here as they're shown up here, or at least it's pretty close approximations. So to draw arrows like this, you use the tool that's shown in the toolbar here, the pen tools. And if you click on this and hold it down, you'll see there's two types of pen tools. One has some dots on the line. Choose that one. And then you also want to go up to curves and choose full arrow at end. Then what you're going to do is drag your arrows. In other words, you're going to start with your cursor, your crosshair, where you want the arrow to start, and click and hold down, and then drag out a little bit. You'll see we can adjust these later, but just start with dragging it out a little bit, and you'll see an arrowhead there. And then you're going to go to where you want the arrow to end, and don't go to exactly where you want the arrowhead to end, but about where you want the arrowhead to start, or maybe a little bit removed from that, and do the same thing. Click and hold, and then drag, and you'll see the arrowhead go. Now you notice if I'm still holding down, and if I make this light blue dotted line larger, it changes the shape of the arrow. And I can do this either now, or I could do it a little bit later. So I let go now, and you can see the arrows there. And maybe this arrowhead isn't as close to the hydrogen as we want it to be. So what we can do is, if you look closely, you can see three blue circles. Actually, you have two circles, one here and one here. And then on the arrowhead in the middle of that is a blue diamond. If you click on that, you can adjust the end of where the arrow is. So I could move it around. If I want to change the angle of the arrowhead or the angle of the end of the line, I can choose one of these blue circles. And you'll notice that I'm selecting it when the plus on the hand becomes three little lines there. It looks like a glove. So then I click and hold, and then I could move that back and forth, and I could also make it shorter or longer, which changes the whole shape of the arrow. And I could of course do that with this other end of the shape as well, so I could make that a little more curved if we want to. But that's a good approximation of the arrow up there, and that would be good enough in reproducing it. Now let's make the other arrow. To make the next arrow, I need to deselect the arrow tool, because right now anything I do will add on to this arrow that I just made. So I'm going to click on the lasso tool and just click anywhere in the document so it deselects that arrow, because when I go back to the pen tool, I don't want that arrow to be automatically reselected, so I have to deselect it in doing that. So now I'm going to draw another arrow, and so I'm going to draw the next one. I'm going to start here. I'm going to click and drag, and then click and drag, and that arrow looks pretty good as it is, so we're going to leave it. Then I'm going to go to the lasso, click anywhere in the document so that gets deselected, go back to the pen, and draw that third arrow on this structure. Now remember, when you draw the arrow, it's overlapping and you want to move it, you can always do that. I can select the arrowhead here so it doesn't go over the oxygen, it points nicely to it. And then if that arrow looks a little too angular for you, you can always readjust and make it a little bit more curved by moving these around. So play around with these so you get a feel for how they actually work. And that's how the arrow tool works.